That's not right. It's Roger Staubach. You were right about it being. You knew that Hembo was going to go to Cowboys Giants on this day. You got to think like Hembo. He went directly to the matchup of the great Roger Staubach. So that's one question for Dominique. Let's see if he can answer some more.
I don't know the question you're trying to ask.
Be better tomorrow.
I'm not answering this. That's a clown question, bro.
Next. Mike, why are you in such a bad mood? What do you care?
What else do you want to know?
Next question.
Your next question.
Next question. Next question.
I'm not going to answer any questions from you.
Answer my question! The question, jerk!
All right, here we go. This time there are no wrong answers from Dominique Foxworth. I have a series of hard-hitting, provocative questions, and he's going to answer them. Let's start with this. We got Michigan, Ohio State for all the marbles this weekend. Got us to thinking, what is the best rivalry in the NFL right now?
I think it's got to be Cowboys-Eagles because rivalries are about stakes, and right now the stakes in that matchup are really high. You can go back to like Ravens and Steelers, but though that matchup is going to be intense, I don't feel like it's going to be, the stakes are going to be nearly as high as this divisional matchup between the Cowboys and Eagles. They may be playing for the 1 seed in the NFC, and with the history that these teams have, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm with that. The only other one I was thinking of was maybe Bills-Chiefs. I feel like has become like one of those statement games and could decide a lot, but I'm with you on that one. All right, next. Which coach-quarterback tandem from the NFC do you trust the most in the playoffs? We have lost Dominique. I've finally done it. All these years, I've tried so hard to ask questions that would just put him into such a tizzy that he literally couldn't move, that we actually did it. He is now frozen in place, and look at him. Look at the suffering that he is doing. All right, I think we got it.
I don't know what's going on.
Which coach? It's a very dated reference.
Pete Carroll and Geno Smith.
Oh, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Tell me why.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pete Carroll's led this team to the Super Bowl on a couple different occasions, so you have to give him respect there. And Geno Smith is playing as well as just about anybody in football. I think you could look at some other quarterbacks or other coaches, but it feels like there's a little bit of question mark. If you look at Tom Brady, the coach situation is not nearly as solidified as Pete Carroll is in Seattle.
All right, fair enough. And then let me give you one more here. Our Football Power Index says the likeliest Super Bowl matchup is Cowboys-Chiefs. So I'm telling you right now, one of those two teams, but not both, is going to make it. Which one would you tell me is going to get there?
It got to be the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs were a game away last year, and the 2 previous years they were there. So given that they still have that guy, Patrick Mahomes, playing quarterback, and their coaching staff is pretty stable, I got to say that if I have to pick one of those teams, even though the AFC is probably tougher, I have more faith in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and that guy, Travis Kelce, who seems unguardable.
Now, seems right. Cowboys, tough, top of the NFC. Chiefs, we'll see if they wind up getting that 1 seed. All right, in the meantime, one of the big stories around the NFL right now, and I have been consistently working my phone this morning trying to get some news out of the camp of the New York Jets, where Coach Robert Saleh has a huge decision to make. Does he put Zach Wilson on the bench for this weekend's game against the Bears after Wilson not only played just terribly against New England last week, but also seemed to take no responsibility for it after the game was over? Again, the statistic is just unimaginable. The Jets averaged less than 3 inches per play in the second half on offense. It was a complete offensive no-show, and yet somehow the quarterback was even worse after the game than he was during the game. So, Chris Canty, the question is simple. Do they need to bench Zach Wilson?
They absolutely need to bench Zach Wilson, and I get that there's some concern about losing your second-year quarterback, but you also have to be concerned if you're Rob Saleh of losing credibility with the guys in your locker room, because you have to have players be accountable in order to do their job. And with the quarterback, the hopes and dreams of everybody in that locker room rest with that dude. I rely on Zach Wilson to play at a high level in order to feed my family, and so I think there's a little bit of frustration bubbling over with not just the guys on the defensive side of the ball, but players on the the offensive side of the ball, Garrett Wilson included. And so I think that's the situation now that Rob Saleh has to balance. It's a tightrope. You know that this is an organizational decision, so it just won't be on the head coach. But I think the right thing for this franchise right now is to bench Zach Wilson and force him to be accountable for poor performances. So,
Tim Hasselbeck, you understand the mentality, the psychology of the quarterback.
Yeah.
If they do bench him now, do you feel like that would be it? Is there any coming back from that for Wilson with this team?
No, I don't think so. And that's why I actually don't think I mean, listen, you can. It just means that you're making your decision right now that you're done with him. And you think about the people that would have to make that decision are the people that drafted him. And look, they already pressed reset at the position when they moved on from Sam Darnold to Zach Wilson. So, look, here's what I would say in terms of losing the locker room. Like, I get it because I do think, like, there is accountability and all of that stuff. But also, every guy that's playing in the National Football League understands that quarterbacks that are drafted in the top 10, not even just in the top 2, they get a different leash. There's a different set of, I guess, rules or runway to prove that you can play for those players. It's not like Robert Saleh is saying, like, hey, guys, just trust me, I believe in him. What he's saying when he plays Zach Wilson is, guys, we all bet on this guy being a really good player. We need him to pull himself out of it. That's why we're continuing to go with him. Look, if Taylor Heineke was playing like this, he wouldn't be in the lineup. Like, that's how it works. And I think people understand that, even guys in the Jets locker room.
Yeah, but there comes a point where you might have a mutiny on your hands. And so, Dominique, I just want to set the understanding of everybody of what we're really talking about here. Like, this is Ryan Leaf territory. This is the second pick in the draft. And because of poor performance and attitude issues, we'd be talking about a team giving up on him a year and a half into his career. They can make a 30 for 30 about this someday. Neek, what's your perspective on it all?
Yeah, I think Tim's right is that players do understand there's a longer leash on a quarterback like that, but I also think that Zach understands that he's not playing well. So I think maybe if you bench him, you lose him, but I'm completely fine with losing this version of Zach Wilson. They need a different guy, and a shock to his system, a shock to his psyche, a shock to his confidence maybe is something that will help him become the player that they need him to be later on in his season or next season. But I don't know, I don't understand how you can watch what's gone on up until this point and still feel like let's just keep going with how we've been doing things and maybe something will change in his heart or in his mind or in his ability. I think that's, we got an excited Canty. I don't want to miss that.
I got literally 20 seconds. Chris, go.
Here's the thing. If you bench him and you lose Zach Wilson, then he wasn't your franchise quarterback anyway because he doesn't have the mental makeup in order to take your team where you want them to go. And furthermore, it's not just about the lack of production. It's about the lack of awareness. When you start talking about not letting the defense down after your offense has 2 yards of total offense in the second half of a divisional game, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, they're trying to do a hard thing, which is develop a quarterback and win big games at the same time. It couldn't be going worse. Again, we expect some news out of there. The coach has a press conference.
Able to play?
That's Michigan's quarterback, Des.
That's a very good question. You keep in mind, though, it's a 1-2 punch with Michigan. They're running attack, and that's who they are. They're not a passing offense. This isn't C.J. Stroud and Ohio State. Michigan's going to line up and run the ball at you. So I say it was a 1-2 punch because there's also Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards is a guy who wasn't available a week ago against Illinois when Blake got hurt, but I think he's going to be available in Columbus. So they're still going to be who they are, Heather. They're not going to turn to some type of passing offense because Blake's not in the lineup. You got C.J. Stokes, you got Donovan Edwards. You're still going to have to do what got you to the party. And then, so I understand people say, well, can he beat him with his arm? I do think that J.J. McCarthy is a very talented passer, but J.J. McCarthy is also a very athletic quarterback too. And Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, he addressed that this week about being able to corral J.J. McCarthy and keep him in the pocket because they understand he's also a very legitimate dual threat quarterback and he can hurt you with his legs too.
So can I just point out one thing as we let Desmond go, and we look forward to it this weekend? Can we take the one shot of Des again there, Kalen? Desmond always sends us subliminal messages with the album that he chooses to put behind him. So he's saying it's going to be a thriller on Saturday in Columbus. I know. Des, I figured it out. We're going to get a thriller in the game, and that's why he picked that record. You are the best, my friend. Enjoy it. We'll be watching Game Day this weekend and everything else in advance of an enormous college football weekend. It's rivalry week. As we continue here, Aaron Rodgers had some interesting things to say, opening up about his future and what might have been his most telling comments